This is Parshas Shemini. So in Parshas Shemini it talks about the behemoths, chayas, shrotzim, oifus, things they're allowed to eat, things they're not allowed to eat. Achalos asurais. Now, I've said this before. If I've said it before and now you remember, please stop me. But just in case I didn't say it, or just in case you don't remember, I'd like to repeat it again. It's a good idea to have. There's in the Torah it says that the way you know if a behemoth is you could eat or you can't eat it, it has to have simonim, the simonim on mafresas parsa and malageru. It has to chew its cud and it has to have split hooves. Now we know that we don't have to have reasoning for mitzvahs, but the Rishonim give a very interesting explanation, the reasoning behind that why behemoths and chayas, the only ones you're allowed to eat, are the ones that have mafresas parsa, split hooves, and malagera, they chew their cud. And the Rishonim say like this: the Orchos Chaim and the Kolbai both say the same thing, that a person gets mushpa, gets affected from what he eats. So if you eat certain animals that are wild animals, and they attack people, they attack other animals, they kill other animals, so if you eat their meat, you end up being like them.
You are what you eat.
You are what you eat. That's where it comes from, yeah. You are what you eat. So if you eat animals that are peteva, they're animals that kill, and they're called deiris, they attack other animals in order to get the food, then you get affected by it. And it makes your nature also a mean nature. On the other side, if you eat animals that are the opposite, animals that get run after, they're called nirdofim, animals that are run after, then we become like them. We don't attack, we don't fight back. Someone says something to you don't like, you don't fight back. So these two simonim that you have in the animals are simonim that the animals are nirdofim. They're chased. They're not roitfim. They don't run after other animals to kill them.
Also calm? Animals that are calm?
It's the same thing. These are calm. They're nirdofim. They're not attackers. And they say like this. So the Kolbai and the Orchos Chaim say like this: that an animal that chews its cud, why did Hashem give that to an animal that should chew its cud? So he says it like this: Orchos Chaim and the Kolbai say that an animal that's a nirdaf, that's chased, what happens is it goes by day, it grabs food off the trees, leaves, whatever it eats, grass, but it can't sit there and chew it and swallow it and take more, because it's always scared that the attacker is going to come attack it. So what did Hashem do? Hashem made these animals, they eat the food, they have a storage place in the stomach, and they consume a lot of food at once, and later on, when they're in their quiet places, and not scared anymore, being a nirdaf, someone chasing them, they bring the food back up, and they chew it correctly, and they digest it and they eat it. So Male Geira is a siman that an animal is a nirdaf, not a reidif. One siman. And then says the Orchos Chaim that split hooves is the same thing. Why do animals have split hooves? Because the animals that are being chased after, says that the hooves are split when they're running over mountains and rocks and stuff, it's much easier to run. So therefore it's also a sign that they're nirdofim, that they're being chased after. So that's why the simone behemoths in the Torah are malagera and mafresas parsa. Both of them are signs that the animal is a nirdaf, not a reidif.
Can't it be nirdaf and a reidif at the same time?
They aren't. There aren't animals that are both. Animals are either reidfim, most of them. But let's say they're also nirdaf, but they're also reidfim. The animals that we eat, the kosher animals that are both, are not nirdaf, not reidfim at all. Any animals that have split hooves and a malager chew their cud, they don't kill other animals to eat. They only eat grass. Yeah, you look at the animals that are split hooves, and Malagera, they eat grass. They don't eat other animals. So that's what the Kol by the Achas Chaim said. That's why. That's a reason for the simonim of behemoths to hires that we eat. It's good to know. Behemoths and chayes.
The horse doesn't have breath, and
Horse also not right. Okay, I guess I don't know. There may be some animals that are also now reitzim that are also not
I
kosher.
think Malaga only eats hay.
Oh, the horses.
Horses
Yeah.
attack. Horses attack. They become wild. They go crazy.
Well,
You
if
can't-
They don't kill off animals.
Doesn't have to be. But they don't eat animals. They're vegetarians.
They're
they have to
vegetarian,
be
yeah.
caged. They also have
Okay, that's what the Chos Chaim says. And there's another step to this. That even a kosher animal, the halacha is a treifa you're not allowed to eat. That means a kosher animal, but it has treifas in it. It has a hole in the lung, a hole in the brain. Whatever the Yud Ches, the 18 treifas are, an animal that's a kosher min, but it's a treifa, you're not allowed to eat it. So there's a Ramah in Hilchas Treifas that says, I can't imagine, I never said it over here, I'll say it over again. There's a Ramah in Hilchas Treifas that says that there's a way of checking an animal when it's alive, if it's a treifa or not. And what's the test? There's the Ramah. You're sheikhs, you remember it. A butcher, so you remember it. If you slide your hand on the back of the animal, the spine of the animal, if the animal goes down and it shows that it's subservient to you, it's makabel moris. It accepts. It shows that it accepts.
That's not foolproof, is it?
What? We'll see in a second. If the animal goes down, it shows that it's subservient. It accepts violence from somebody else. That's a siman that the animal is not a treifa. It doesn't have one of the Yud Ches treifas. But if the animal stays standing straight, when you pull your hand across the spine of the animal, it shows that it's a balgaiva, and it's not scared of you. And therefore, it's a siman that it's a treifa. That's what the Ramah says. The Ramah, you can look it up in Hilchos Treifas. I think it's Simon Lamed Gimel, I think it is. That's what the Ramah says.
supposed to sit down when you touch it?
When you put your hand across it, it goes down. You try to push it down, it goes down. But if it still stays up, it shows that it's a balgaiva. So it says the Ramah that today we're not bekiyim in that test. We don't know exactly how to do it. Therefore, we can't rely on it. But it seems like it used to be a test. You know, if you're today, the animals go to the goyim. But in the olden days, we checked an animal and it wasn't kosher. If you had a treifa, it was a big hefsid. I once heard a story with the Shinova. I never saw it aside, I once heard it, that there was a sheikhit in the town where the Shinova lived. The Shinova was a kid then. And there was a sheikhit in the town, and he used to come check his animals, and every animal come out was kosher. Very unusual. It was very unusual. And finally some people started saying that we don't trust this person anymore. He's checking the animals, he's saying they're kosher, and in the meantime there must be treif. Because it can't be that all the animals they check are ksherim. So they went to him and they said, you know, sorry, we don't trust the hechsher anymore, we can't use you anymore. Because they're saying all the animals are kosher. So he said, listen, now that you threatened me with my job, I'll tell you my secret. My secret is, the Shinova then, let's say was a kid, 7, 8 years old. So I would take the Shinova with me to the marketplace, and he would look at the animal's face, and he would see if the animal was a balgaiva or if the animal was subservient. And he was pointing me to the ones that weren't balgaiva. So I knew that those animals were kosher. And those are the ones I bought. Therefore, I have such a high success rate with the animals. Let's say a story. The Shinova. Shinova was
I'm sorry, everybody else knows and I don't.
No, the Shinova Rebbe. Who was the Shinova Rebbe?
My son.
Sons. It's sons. I've got which
Son of
6 generations ago, something like that. It's like 6 generations ago. Fine. So that's that. No. He was a kid then.
Oh.
He was a kid. He was
Oh.
Okay, but that's the simonim of behemoths and chayes. Now, what I'd like to figure out more today is about, oifis. There's no simon oifis that we know. Leifus in the Torah is no simonim. That says there's 24 that are kosher, that are treif, the rest are non-kosher. You have to have a mesorah in which ones. That's why today we don't know exactly the animals, the birds that the Torah lists that are treifus, that are no good. We don't know exactly which ones they are. So the Mishnah gives 4 simonim to know. And we're not even bucking all those 4 simonim. And therefore today, the only poultry that we eat is poultry that we have a mesorah for. That means we know that our grandparents ate it. But poultry that has no mesorah, we don't eat. That's why there's a whole tumult with the turkey. Because turkey, there was no mesorah. The turkey is a new thing. So we can't say that our parents and our grandparents ate it. Therefore, a lot of people, when they came to America, didn't eat turkey. Because there's no mesorah on turkey. Today, there are still some people that don't eat it. Because you have to have a mesorah, because you don't know, because you don't know for sure if it has a simonim. Then there's shrotzim. That's what I'd like to speak about today more. Shrotzim is little bugs, little crawling things in the ground that are also to eat. V'chol hasheretz ala oretz lo yochel. Anything that crawls in the ground, you're not allowed to eat. Now, shrotzim is a very interesting parasha. Why? Because when it comes time to bugs, the halacha is like this. A bug that grows in water, the egg was there and it was born in water and it grew in water. The halacha is, well, the same thing in a fruit. There's a bug in a fruit that grew inside the fruit, and it was never sheretz al ha'aretz. The Torah says, sheretz al ha'aretz. Any sheretz that goes on the ground, you're not allowed to eat. But if it was never sheretz al ha'aretz, it never walked on the ground, you're allowed to eat it. You're allowed to eat shrotzim that never step foot on the ground. So if you have a fruit that the bugs grow from inside within the fruit itself, it was never sheretz al ha'aretz. The halacha is you're allowed to eat those shrotzim. Once they come out of the fruit and they walk on the ground for a second, now it becomes usher to eat it. But as long as they were not sheretz al ha'aretz, you're allowed to eat it. That was the whole question they had with the fish ones, with the wild salmon, I think it was called, that they found little bugs under the skin of the animal, between the skin and the flesh. And the question was where those bugs came from. If the bugs grew in the fish itself, so they were never sheretz. They never left the fish. They grew there. They were born there. They grew there, and you're allowed to eat it. But if they came,
Fish bugs.
Fish bugs, yeah. But if they came from the outside, that means the fish was swallowing them, and they came from the outside, and then it got into the fish, then it's also to eat it. So the question was where those bugs came from. That was the whole question with the fish. But any bug that's not sheretz al ha'aretz is mutter to eat. If it grew...
So these bugs that you get in the cherries, they're okay or not?
It depends where it came from.
It comes from oil.
Yeah, the worms that grow inside the cherries themselves, they never were sheretz al ha'aretz, you're allowed to eat it.
Should be okay, yeah.
Yeah, you're allowed to eat it. The question is, a lot of times they come out. I can't get into the whole complicated subject exactly what's called coming out. When it's attached to when it's still attached to the tree,
yeah.
If it crawls a little bit, even inside the fruit, when it's still attached to the tree, that's called sheretz al ha'aretz, because the fruit is attached to the tree, and the tree is called ground. But if it grows after it comes off the tree, and then it walked around inside the fruit, then it's mutter, because it was never sheretz al ha'aretz. It crawled inside the fruit itself. So that's halacha by shrotzim. So it comes in the gay a lot to shrotzim in the water. This is the whole tumah with the bugs in the water. So bugs that grow in rivers, they're called sheretz al ha'aretz, because the river is running water, it's called sheretz al ha'aretz. Bugs that grow in reservoirs, where it's gathered water, reservoir, or bugs that grow in a cup. They never left from the water, they stayed in the water the whole time. They were never sheretz al ha'aretz, they never came out and crawled anyplace else. It's mutter to drink them. There's no mutter to drink it.
But the New York City.
So the whole thing with the New York City water, that the water that's full of bugs in them. So the question is, why is it also? It grows in the reservoirs, and then what happens? Then the water travels through pipes. The only reason why it's also, because the choshesh, that when the water travels through the pipes, in the pipe itself, the bug left the water, and it was on the pipe, and then it fell back into the water. But if you take the water straight from the reservoir and drink it, there won't be any problems with bugs, with shrotzim. Why? Because the shrotzim were not sheretz al ha'aretz. They never walked. Hainu ribisayu was lashon Gemara. That's where they grew. They grew in the water. They grow in the water. You're allowed to drink it.
How do you know that? You don't know whether the sheretz was on the shore of the reservoir and then...
No, so they know, but they know those bugs that grow in the reservoirs grow from within the water itself. They don't come from the outside. So you're right. When you have to be chayshish, then maybe you left the reservoir, came back in, there's no such chash.
But that it climbed up on top of the
They climbed up. It has, and even on the side of the kli, climbs up on the side of the kli, the shah of the Gemara, if it's called leaving the kli or not. Because that's its place. That's its living place. It has to go outside. So in the reservoir waters, there's no shower. The bugs left it and came back in. The question is only when they traveled through the pipes, maybe over there something happened to them. That was one shower. Another big shower they have is that the size. You can't see them. Is there any heter when there's bugs in water, let's say, and you can't see the bugs in the water? You can't see it. You look at the water, it looks clear to you, you don't see any bugs. Is there any heter to drink it because you don't see it? Well, no. If it's there, it's there.
No. And the basuf.
What? And the stuff. That's what we're speaking about today. Is there any heter to drink it when you can't see it? You can't see the bugs in the water. Is there any heter to drink it? And it comes a lot to all the vegetables today that have bugs in them. The most people you can't find the bugs. You can't see them.
That's what you think. You should come last night to the share.
So it depends what? It depends which one. Certain bugs you could see, certain bugs you can't see. So the truth is, seeing a bug is not totally in what you could see or not, because you don't even know what a bug looks like. We don't know what they look like. If someone would show you what bugs look like, and then you take a fruit, or whatever, a strawberry, whatever they have that has bugs in them, and you would look at it, and you would look well, you would see what it is, then you know it's a bug. The reason why we don't see them is because we don't know what we're looking for. So that's not a taina. The fact that we don't see them is not a taina, because if it's seeable, a person who knows what they are can see it, that everyone agrees is also. That's not a question. The question is, if even a person who knows what he's looking for can't see it, unless he puts it on the magnifying glass, and then he can see it. Is there an issur on those bugs or not? So this shaila is already no shaila, and the Binas Adam says that to someone in his days, to wanted to ask vinegar. So vinegar is also to use vinegar unless you cook it well first, and then you eat it. Why? Because it says in vinegar, he says, it's impossible for it to become vinegar, for vinegar to become vinegar, unless there's little bugs inside, in order to make it into vinegar. Vinegar cannot become vinegar unless little bugs go inside. That's what makes it into vinegar. That was the Messias, he said. Microscope. If you look with a magnifying microscope, you can see those little bugs inside. Yira, kalachimitz, mole, teloim. You'll see that the vinegar is full of bugs. Because of shalakach also lechal chimitz, you're now allowed to eat vinegar, because even sinun, even to try to take it out, it's impossible to take out the bugs. You use a sifter, so to go straight through the sifter. Therefore, he says it's also to use vinegar, unless you cook it up. And maybe we'll get to it soon. That if you cook it up, a bug is only usher. Why don't we say bugs are bottle b'roiv? We know it's a bittul b'roiv. Anytime you have an isser, it falls in. You have a drop of milk, or isser that falls into your pot. If it's a drop, it's bottle b'roiv or bottle b'shishim. 60 is bottle. Those little bugs are bottle b'shishim. So why isn't a bottle? The answer is because a barrier, something that's a barrier. We spoke about this once. A full thing, a full creature, is never a bottle. It can be a huge vat of something, and one little bug falls into it, you can't find it, the whole vat is usher. Because there's no bittul on a barrier. So these things are called barriers.
Half of a word.
Oh, so these things are called barriers. What happens is, but if it's not a full barrier, if let's say you chop off a foot, then it's bottle b'roiv. Then it's bottle, then you'll add them. That's the heter they have today when they take the strawberries and stuff that have bugs in them, or the choshes that have bugs in them, and they puree them. You puree it, so what happens is, or you cook it up, a lot, you puree it, what happens is, even though there may be bugs inside, but they're not full anymore. They're already pieces. Pieces are bottle beroiv. That's the head that they have today for all the things that they don't, without bodek. Oh, and that is a question. We'll get to that in a second. So what happens is, you take it, you puree it, then there's no, even though there was a bug there is a bug there. If it's missing an eye or a leg, it's mutter. You're allowed to eat it. If you want to eat it. The truth is, I mean, not only by the goyim, they eat it all the time. They say it's healthy even, it's protein.
Gives
taste to it. So when they puree it, that's what happens. That's why there's a head to it, even though you're not going to eat, strawberry, let's say, just buy it off the shelf and eat it. But if it's pureed, it's mutter. Now the question is, what are you doing? You're taking it and you're pureeing it, right? So now it's asur because it has bugs in it. What are you doing? You puree it, and it's become bottle. You know, there's halacha, ein mevatel is lechatchila. You can't go ahead and take an isur and be mevatel. You can't go ahead if you know there's a bug in your thing.
We don't know if that's the thing. We don't.
But it's muksah that there is. There's most probably there is, therefore you can't eat it. So what are you going to do? You'll mix it up, you puree it, you chop up the bugs, okay, now you can eat it. You're not allowed to do that. Ein mevatel is lechatchila. So the answer they give to that is that Taz speaks about it. Taz says that Ein mevatel isur lechatchila is only when I'm doing it because I want to get rid of the isur. You're right. If you're going ahead and you're pureeing it because you want to eat it with the bugs inside, then it's asur. But when you're pureeing it, you're not doing it for that reason. You want your vegetables pureed. If I'm not doing it for that reason, it's mutter. That's the head they give. But the question is, but to me and you, I'm not going to eat the strawberries where they are. So what am I doing? I'm throwing it into a blender, and I'm blending it, and now I'm going to eat it. So the Taz says if you're not doing it for that reason, you don't care. You'd rather the bugs shouldn't be there. That's not called mevatel lechatchila. I'm pureeing because I want to puree it, not because I want to get rid of the bugs. The Taz gives a heter that it's mutter. Now, I'm not going to say it's a heter for everything. It could be only a heter when you know that you're not 100% sure there's bugs there. But if you're 100% sure, it could be it's asur. But the Maisa, most places can say today, if someone wants to buy vegetables, that you wouldn't eat it the way they are plain, because of chash of bugs, and you go ahead and you puree it, most places will say it's okay. Cook it up, you puree it. But the Bidus Adam goes ahead and he says he wants to asur vinegar. Because vinegar, he says, there's bugs in them, and unless you cook it up, they don't fall apart, and therefore you're not allowed to eat vinegar unless you cook it up. That's what Saul wanted to say to him. And he goes ahead and he brings riots that it can't be, because the Torah is matter vinegar. The Torah says you're allowed to eat vinegar. Chaymitz is mutter to eat. How can you say the Torah says it's mutter to eat vinegar, but only if you cook it? The Torah didn't say it tonight. The Torah says it's mutter to eat vinegar. The Torah says it's mutter to eat it. It must be that it's mutter the way it is. So you can say today you're allowed drinking water. The Torah says you're allowed to drink water. Where they were asking Chaymitz was, they said the Mitzvah says it can't become vinegar unless there were bugs. That was already in the times of the Torah. Today they say the Mitzvah has changed a lot. A lot of things that never had bugs till now do have bugs today, and therefore you have to be much more careful. So here the Bidus Adam is matter it. Now I read to you a lashon of the Aruch HaShulchan. The Aruch HaShulchan says like this: Yesh mi shekoseh b'shem Chochmei HaTeva. Someone writes from the Chochmei HaTeva, the scientists, that Mestakel was Chukas HaMagdelas. Shekayrin, he gives a different name over here, Spaktiva. Here b'chaymitz mole tilam. You find in vinegar full of bugs. Vine b'chaymitz ein chashash. So he says why? Because the chaymitz, the bugs are created in the vinegar itself. So it was never shayris al aretz. It was never shayris al aretz. It never was on the ground. So anyway, it's mutter. But then he says, if you look into even rainwater, it's full of little bugs. Ubialdusi shemati if you echad shoy b'merachkim, v'rod derech sechukas hamagdelas, ad ma'oid kirvavois pa'omim b'mayim kol aminim b'rum. 10,000s of bugs in water. And today we know, if you look at a microscope, there's all these placebos, whatever they call them, floating around the waters, and it's full of little bugs. says, Omnam emesu, do they also Torah b'ma she'ein ha'ayin shalatas boy. Says the Aruch HaShulchan, the Torah did not answer something that the ein ha'ayin shalatas boy, that the eye cannot see it. If the eye cannot see it, the Torah did not answer it.
It's like bread.
What?
You'd never be able to eat any bread or pastries.
Right,
All
anything.
yeast is organisms.
Right. Everything today everything is organisms, everything has in it.
Microorganisms.
So he says even more, like knit in the Torah of Malachim. The im leikein, if not, harakam ma'chokim kasvu, shagam kol avir, homole beruim dakim and adakim. Ear is full of little, whatever you call them, there's little bugs flying in the air. Huh? Germs, whatever you want to call them. Right? The ear is full of stuff. So he's going to say, so if that's the case, when he opens up his mouth,
But that's not
you swallow it.
That's not b'derech hakila. He's not eating.
Why is he not eating?
It's not eating. I'm not eating. I'm breathing. I'm
So,
opening my mouth. I'm not eating.
But it's coming into your mouth.
It's coming in, but he's not b'derech hakila.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll get that in a second. So it says that someone opens his mouth, but they come him. And the vadai, the hevel lifts the PM, it's not true. And anything that's not an ayin shaylet behem, there's no issue. So if you're allowed to breathe, if you're allowed to drink water, even though there's small bugs in them, if it's ayin shaylet behem, you can't answer it. Torah only answers something that you could see. If you can't see it, not. So I did see somewhere, I forgot where I saw it. It says what you're saying, that you can't bring a rye from the ear. Because the Torah asks the derech achil, you're not allowed to eat them. Breathing, it doesn't go into your stomach. Breathing goes into your lungs and stuff. It doesn't end up in your stomach. It's not achila. Torah only asks it to eat shrut. Okay. So maybe it's not a rye from the bugs in the ear.
No,
but
even if it goes in.
It's not achila. Yeah, fine. I've seen some people argue that because of that taina. But what he's saying is anything you don't see with the eye, the Torah doesn't answer it. Torah doesn't answer if you can't see it. There's first Yisrael, it says something interesting. Also, the same thing, that anything that eye doesn't see is not there.
Is that like by chametz, by masha?
No, chametz is mashu you see. Yeah, chametz is a mashu chametz that you can't even see. It's nothing. So the first Yisrael, is a very interesting thing. There was a fish in those days that someone came out and said it's a kosher fish. A fish we know, so it's parasha has to have fins and scales. So there's a fish that you couldn't see. Look at the fish, there were no scales on it. But you take a microscope and you look at it through a microscope, you were able to see scales on the fish.
That's called king crab.
It's called king?
King crab in South Africa.
That's the name of the fish?
Yeah, king crab.
King crab. So there's a fish that you can't see, and it's kosher or not?
Well,
Delicious.
the Rabbonim, it's under the Hersha, but it's not Mahadri.
I'm a hajj. Well, sorry, this question.
Apparently, the scales fall off as they take it out of the water.
That's something else. That's something else. If the scales fall off, it's a whole different shaila. If it has scales in the water, when you take it out of the water, the scales fall off. That's a whole different question. If it's kosher or not. This is a different question. It has scales and it stays on, but you can't see them. The only way you can see the scales is through a microscope. So the first soul says there was somebody who was matir, a dog. Like 50, 60 years ago, there was a gadol echad that wanted matir a fish called kvapa. I don't know what that was. Why? Machmeshero, a microscope. Sheyesh like kaskasim. You have to see in a microscope that it has scales. So, was it good or not? So he says, and the head got lost, and now everyone asks it. And he says, L'maisa, I hold, V'lulei mistafina ha'yiniruli l'chol she'ein nira b'li zechuchis v'nikras kaskasas. Anything that you can't see without a microscope is not called scales. You have to be able to see it with your naked eye. If you need a microscope to see it, it's not called scales. So those who want to be makel, the bugs in water, if you can't see it, because you need a microscope to see it, it's not called bugs. You have to be machmer also, the other way. That if you can't see the kaskasim, can't see the scales, it's not called scales. You have to be able to see it. And then he says a very interesting thing. He says like this. He says, first of all, it has to be that you can see it. He says, if someone has a little piece of chalev, you're not allowed to eat chalev, fats. You're not allowed to eat fats. So he has a little piece of fat, less than a kazayas. He has a microscope. Under the microscope, it's big. It's bigger than a kazayas. So So now you can't eat it? That's his right. Interesting raya he has. It compares the two. Because if you're going to use a microscope to look at something, then any small thing you're not allowed to eat, even less than his eyes. Because if you put it under a microscope, all of a sudden it becomes very big. So you can't use microscopes. And then he goes and he says the same thing would be by esrogim. Right? We know an esrog, there's nothing on it. So you look at it looks fine. You take a magnifying glass and you look at it, oh, I found a dot. Is that a problem? Does it make a namahuda or not? And not even namahuda, if you have certain spots that are black, whatever it is, it passes it. Would that passel it or not? You take it with your naked eye, you look at it looks clean to you. You take a magnifying glass, and now you can see something. So the Torah says, forget about the magnifying glass. You don't use a magnifying glass. If you can't see it with your eye, it's not a psul, not an esrig. It's not kosher for kaskasim, and they won't aser bugs in water. If you cannot see it with the naked eye, they all hold that it will not become aser. Because you have to have the seed.
Why an esrig? You take a magnifying glass.
That's a good question.
And also the salads.
Who said they have to?
They check salads on a box with magnifying glass.
Light packs. So something else. Something called, sometimes you could see something with your eye, but you're not sure exactly what it is. That happens a lot. You look at it, so you see something, but you're not sure what it is. So then you can use a magnifying glass to verify what that is. The same thing with bugs on lettuce. They have these glasses, they can look through it, because really your eye catches it, you do see it, but you're not sure what it is. So you use something else to help you verify what it is. But if you don't see it with your eye, that's not a problem at all. I also had a very interesting question on an esrog. It was just the opposite. I had an esrog, I looked at it, it was totally clean. I brought it home, I gave it to my wife, she says, there's that right there. I'm looking at it, I can't see it. I can't find it. I took off my glasses. I took off my glasses.
You're paying for it.
Huh? I took off my glasses, and then my eye caught it. Without my glasses, the eye caught it. So here was the opposite question. The naked eye could see it. But when you wear glasses, you can't see it. You can't see it. Most people couldn't see it. Here was the opposite question. The naked eye, I never look without my glasses.
You don't have bifocals.
What?
You don't have
I don't have
bifocals.
bifocals, right. Yeah, those have bifocals, they would see it. Even then, I brought it to Shemini to look at it. This is his question. I said, with my eye I could see it. With my glasses I can't see it. He looked at it, he couldn't find it either. He was wearing his glasses, he couldn't find it either. And he says, no, you can't see it. It's not called seeing it. I was able to catch it with my eye. I took them with my glasses, no matter how much I looked, I couldn't see it. He said, it's not called seeing it. It has to be something near a people could see it. That's not called being able to see it. It's not called being able to see, huh?
At a shir, we were taking a course, all Sior Mashkichim are now taking a course.
Yeah.
They had strawberries, every vegetables and everything, they had magnifying glasses, everything. One thing we couldn't see, there was something on the strawberry, I couldn't see it. But he took off his glasses and he saw it. He's not saying this is something else, I can't see it.
Yeah, so there they say that a person who can't see it, who's not a baki, doesn't know what it is, like I said before, it's not called that you can't see it. Because you don't know what you're looking for. It has to be someone who's a mumcha, and he can't see it, then it's called you can't see it. Which is a lot of bugs. It happens to be that, if you look, you can't see. You can't see it. Unless you are the person who made the book. The first book that came out on bugs, from Moshe Vai. Moshe Vai, as I saw, it came out years ago. He was the first person ever put. It's called Leviticus. He was the first person to put out a book on bugs. I recently, I lived as a show. I lived next to him. He has glasses like this thick. I'm not joking. Very, very thick glasses. So we used to make fun of him that, he was looking so much for bugs that's what happened. He strained his eyes too much. But the mice, he did good. The mice, he did good, and had to be careful. Right.